thing here. So if you don't know who Bill Maher is, I can't help you. I don't know. He's been around for so long. You'd be one of three people maybe on the planet that don't know who he is. But Bill Maher has a show, Club Random. It's a podcast show that he does. It's literally just him interviewing one person, kind of like a Joe Rogan type thing. Um, it's very good actually. I like it. I like Bill Maher though. I'm a pretty good. I'm a pretty big fan of him. For one, he's a classic liberalist, very centrist. Um, I would say now would seem to lean more to the right because obviously that the window's been moved over so much as far as liberalism. But he had Vivek Ramaswamy on um, recently. I don't know exactly when it was. I just caught I caught it a couple of days ago. It looks like it was the 20. Well, this article was published on the 21st, so it must have been just before that. So probably a week ago or so. It was good. It was really good. Good interview. He let Vivek talk, and he challenged him back on a couple of different things that Vivek was saying. You know, one of Vivek's big things that he says is that he's going to end the FBI, and Bill Maher didn't seem to think much of that. He kind of clapped back on that and laughed at him, type thing. But it was good. It was good. So I'll read a little bit of this article. This is from Fox News, formerly a good news, well, sort of a good news agency, but you know, one of the mainstream media outlets. So ever since they got rid of Tucker, they're kind of going downhill. So let's read this anyway. So Bill Maher tells Vivek Ramaswamy, "You really could go far in GOP primary. You're such a likable guy." So, liberal comedian Bill Maher showered GOP hopeful Vivek Ramaswamy with praise during an hour-long discussion on Sunday's installment of his Club Random podcast. "It's funny, you're such a good talker and you're such a likable guy. I think you could really go far," Maher said, or told Ramaswamy. "I must say you're one of the few guys who I find both disarming and alarming." Maher chuckled. So he kind of goes into that. And he talks about how he's disarming because he's very good. He speaks very well. If you've ever listened to Vivek, he speaks really, really well. You could confuse him with a statesman. I mean, realistically, he's kind of like smashing Trump and Obama together. He speaks like Obama, but but he his what his core backings are more like Trump. So he's kind of the best of both worlds. So probably why he's gaining um, some momentum now, because really I think he's going to get a lot of the centrist people to see they like the idea that he's pushing against the establishment, but that he's not, you know, he's not gruff. Like that's the problem with Trump. Like you like him, but then you can kind of get sick of him a little bit. You can kind of get sick of the antics a little because you just want him to be concise and clear in his message a lot of the time. But he has to throw a lot of bluster in there. Vivek does it in a way he does it, but he does it in a way that's a lot more palpable, right? He just kind of sneaks it in there. Anyway, so he goes, and it's so. This is Bill Maher talking. He goes, "No, I mean it." Maher doubled down. Look. You're attractive looking. You're young. First of all, here's a big advantage you have. Biden and Trump people hate this matchup, and they hate these two geriatrics. You're like the most not that. I think Bill Maher's a little drunk when he's doing these because he speaks funny sometimes. He goes on to kind of talk about he talks about him being young and maybe ahead of, like, he's too early, a little too early in, and then he also goes on to accuse Vivek of being a Trump apologist essentially and trying to maybe vie for the vice president spot, for which I got to give Vivek uh, props here. He actually twice tells Bill Maher no, he has no interest in doing that. So he keeps saying this. I hope he's a guy of his word, but he by doing this though, he really is kind of like hard pigeonholing himself into not being vice president, which I think is a mistake personally. I wish he would I wish he wouldn't have said that. And I wish he would kind of say I'm open potentially to something like that. Um, or just not really go so hard on as to say no, because I think now walking it back is going to kind of look a little disingenuous. But either way, I got to give him credit. I got to give them both credit. It was a good interview. Um, they seem to genuinely like each other, which is nice. And for Bill Maher to actually, he's not endorsing him, but for him to not slam on him too much and actually say that he could be convinced to endorse him. And he was walking a couple of things back during the interview. It's progress, right? It's nice to see a guy um, kind of move towards more common sense as opposed to with Bill Maher, you get a little bit more of the established um, politicians that he seems to support. In this case, obviously Vivek's not that guy. So good on Bill Maher. I'll continue to watch and obviously we're going to keep an eye on this Vivek because he's really kind of moving it up around. He's doing all the podcast circuits, which is probably the best thing to do to get your word out there.